Wir sind beim vierten Vortrag und für den vierten Vortrag, der wird auf Englisch stattfinden. Haben wir einen Gast aus Portugal zu Besuch, den Job, und deshalb switche ich jetzt mal gleich vom Deutschen ins Englische. It's nice to have you here, and Job is actually also here because of Anne and Deacon. Because they told us, hey guys, you should definitely invite Job. He's building this awesome tool to spread compost on the market garden beds, and it's called the Dropper, and here's the YouTube video, and please, please, please invite him. We want to see the tool, and that would be an amazing fit. So we asked him to come, or we asked him if it's possible for him, and yeah, he followed our invitation. And then since we said, well, you have time here for your workshop to present your Dropper, is it not possible for you to present your farm? Job is just a little bit north of Lisbon, if I'm correct. Correct. Good. And so that means he definitely has again a completely different context. A very dry summer. Mediterranean climate, but he's also for more than 10 years now, I think, involved with syntropic agriculture, and so that's the perfect maybe switch after Anne and Deacon to see a little bit more of syntropic agroforestry integrated into vegetable production, into the market garden.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you everybody for switching to English. And thank you, Tobias and team, for inviting me here. It's an honor. Okay, great. Okay. I am originally from Holland, so I can understand quite a lot of what I've been hearing until now. Super interesting, and thanks a lot for all the presentations that I've seen. But unfortunately, I really cannot speak German for you to have fun here. And hopefully the English is fun enough. Lugar de Terra is me and my wife. We started this already, let's say 5 years ago, officially farming and selling products. We have been doing, here's my family, in the forest that's taken by a really great photographer, Jody Danton. I want to thank him for this. So if you ever need some really beautiful photography, this is the guy, Jody Danton. And we did 8 years of, let's say, market gardening, or let's say a permaculture garden for a hotel together, which was a great experience because we got to fail and invest money that was basically not ours, and earn money with that. That was a crazy situation, actually. It was amazing. I recommend it to everybody who wants to start a farming career. It's really a really lucky situation to start learning and failing again. So it's very important to do hard work and then get this disappointment, but then not give up. That's really important. So we have a small land, 5,000 square meters. We farm 500 square meters, I would say. Have a lot of area which is sloped and difficult to access. We use that for organic matter sometimes to harvest organic matter sources. You can imagine here, I would say people would probably have easy access to, let's say, wood chips, small pieces of wood, right? Threaded materials. For us, that is a possibility, but it's not a very logical biomass source. It would be very expensive. Funny enough, I have access to good compost. You can see a bit of the pine forest. That's the main tree in Portugal is pine trees and eucalyptus trees. It's like seriously exaggeration of eucalyptus trees, which is nice for the paper production, but it's not so good for the diversity, as you can imagine, and it burns very well as well. So people should really start planting different trees and different different species. And now we were here in the middle of sort of a snapshot of the market garden, where I have 4 beds in the middle of 2 tree rows in this case. And it, um, so we heavily compost all the beds since the beginning. So it's a very small garden, and I felt since my learning experience on the hotel that it is much more smart to have, let's say, a good resource on a very small place than having a good resource spread out over a large area. I think a lot of farmers here will agree with me on that topic. Use a lot of organic matter on a small place rather than a lot of organic matter on a large place. And why, especially discovery, is very big here in the drier climates, where you notice when you spread all that organic matter and it doesn't decompose because it's basically oxidating in the dry weather. So if you join it all together in a very thick layer of 10, 15 centimeters of compost, you get the compost itself starts working as sort of a mulch layer, um, and and what happens is you're covering the original soil. Your compost becomes, on the lower edge, becomes a very nice humid bacterial life situation, and the top layer of that compost even dries out. So it's in my opinion it's very interesting to look at compost also like that. It's a luxurious way to look at it, but again, if you then put it on a small area, the feedback of that farming method is very positive to you, because you get a very positive feedback because of it. You bring so much fertility in a very small location. This is obviously not. I'm not talking about using compost teas or using let's say inoculants. Again, this would, in more humid climate, it definitely would work to spread it over larger areas. But if you're working in dry climate, you can imagine water is life, so very obvious that will create more opportunity for life. Here's a little bit of a start of how we're starting a syntropic line. And what we do a lot is we try to inspire in our courses. Not that much the great explanation, by the way, of Anne and Deacon on syntropic farming, of how to look at the succession in species, and how Ernst Götz basically emphasizes a lot on planting everything together, and using that growth pulse of the plants to stimulate everything to grow, so keeping the system very vivid and very alive. And what I took from him in 2011, I had a training with him, and the most important thing that I took out of the training with him was that his ability to get people to start doing. Not that much. I mean, it was very, very complex. All this theory was super interesting, but also so complex. And at the same time, he scared me off. Like, oh, that's so much. That's serious. It's a serious business. This is 50 years of lifetime of experience of this man. But at the same time, he was able to inspire, like at that time, 30 people there in the course to start doing it, to start really literally putting your hands in the soil and starting to farm, and to not be afraid. And this is what I'm trying to do with my courses. Not that much. I'm saying I'm a syntropic farmer. I just like to be inspired by it. I'm inspired by all the other techniques as well, like market gardening and agroforestry. So so here's a lot of seeds we're prepping for them for the course, and there's just anything we can get our hands on. You can imagine if you're going to start planting something, you want diversity, then this is basically what you have to start thinking. What is diversity? Anything you can basically get is diverse. I mean, there should. Scott Hall, also interesting farmer to follow in the syntropic world. He mentioned once you should not discriminate between which seed you choose or which seed you find. You just should try to get your hands on all of it and bring that into the system. Now there's questions on that topic, I can imagine, but this is just to get into the doing stage, you know, to take away the fear and to start. So here we have a product that is working very good for us, and I think it's nice to our time with the hotel, we learned to work with chefs and what they like, and so we got a bit over the fear of the word restaurant and selling to a restaurant. I can tell you, in our experience, the chefs are really, really, into farming. So they really like you to show what you have, and so don't be fearing if you want to sell to a restaurant, just to step in and show all the little products. And we started doing that. The more crazy you can get nowadays, the better it is, actually. So I'm selling weeds at the moment to chefs, serious, like plants that I just have growing. And it cannot be more regenerative, right? Just the land is already producing it. There's no work, you know, only harvest, which is still work, and washing it, and you know, it's still bringing it. The food forest mix, it's how we call it. Catchy name, sells good, works really good because we literally can put in all these different species from the farm, and and just in my opinion, it looks very attractive. A lot of chefs like it. So it takes time to harvest, and in the beginning we we're taking an effort to go leaf by leaf and on all these little plants, and now we're starting to farm it a little bit more. You can understand. We do a lot of different products. So you can see elephant garlic. We try to grow specialty crops to not be. In the beginning, we did. I mean, I want to be having all those more general crops, but at the same time, it's easier to stand out if you grow different things. So really to specify on something. And the funny thing is, we started growing taro. You can see that big leaf over there. I would bet that in the warmer places here in Germany, you can try that. And I mean, if you go really below zero, the leaf might die off, but they come back. And it's an interesting potato. It's a very healthy plant. And so stuff like you wouldn't expect, try it. And it can surprise you. Maybe you don't get the full crop, but maybe you get a byproduct of the crop that tries to grow. So we do also curcuma and fresh ginger, which is a discovery for us as well, which is amazing. Of course, this is Portugal, so you have a warmer, but I grow the ginger in the tunnel. Outside, it's trouble. And then the curcuma can even be growing outside, which is amazing, of course. But you can grow that indoor in a tunnel here probably as well. They have a long growing season, so you grow from turmeric. Sorry, curcuma is turmeric, but you can grow that, early spring. You can put it in the winter in the ground, and then you have it in November. It's a very interesting crop, I think. Now this is all photography, of course, but it helps to sell. I mean, it's not like my farm looks like this the whole day. And so this was before we had did more baskets, very little. We're a really small farm, so the maximum was 25 boxes or something we were selling it. This is our mobile chicken tractor. The organic tools wheels are on this one, not in the photo, sorry, but anybody wants a mobile chicken tractor, you can recognize those water tanks, those 1,000-liter water tanks I used. I cut away all the excess steel, and then you can see I flipped it around, and we put it really nice airless tires from organic tools on it, and it works so nice. It's such a light chicken tractor. Comparing with the ones that I started with, it's but this is, I think, is the best that I can think of at the moment. So here's the tunnel. We can do bananas. So yeah, that's also really exciting, of course, for a Dutch guy. In Holland, it's not that much banana climate. Well, nowadays, of course, it is. Everywhere you can grow this in this crazy world. So now we have here the food forest on one area of the land. This is during a course, and just to give you a bit of an idea, this is 3 years old or something. This area here. But it was one of my first lines that I made, and I made a lot of mistakes. I used a lot of spacing. So the syntropic system came along. It was just too much space, and now actually I use that in my courses to, I explained that what were my beginner mistakes, and we plant more species into it. So we prune it heavily, and we plant it, put more seeds in the ground, and cuttings and trees and everything. So this is an area that, well, you'll see in the next pictures also where it is totally clean. This is during a course as well. This was, we do consultancy as well. So Tanía made this slide in the presentation. Tanía isn't not here, unfortunately. She wanted to be here, but she's with our kids in Portugal. So there's a lot of need for hydrology and water earthworks in Portugal. So we work with that. We also have caterpillar tunnels. We are lucky to work closely with the fabric, and together with them, we decided to develop one that is, a bit like the Farmer's Friends caterpillar tunnels. So we also sell that. We haven't shipped to Germany, but I think here's a lot also. But to Spain we did. You can see a bit of our early market gardens. This by now is transformed in that picture that you saw earlier. This one. So can go fast in 3 years. This is again that same area. And it can be so overwhelming when you in 2 years, 2.5 years time at once are within the greenery. This is water irrigation, yeah. So syntropic farming is a lot talked about that you can do that without irrigation. And I'm at the moment farming several areas without the irrigation at all. It's very funny because I'm used to work with drip lines, the drip irrigation everywhere. So when you're working with knives and tools and all that, you're always careful to not cut them. And I mean, I have a bag of joints to fix those tubes all the time, and that bag goes fast. And this is a very interesting and weird experience after so many years of working with drip lines that I'm now starting to several tree lines without it, and it is actually going marvelously well. I have had quite some extra rain during summer, so that helped. But still, maybe it's because I'm planting now without irrigation. You're attracting the rain. That's what Ernst Kurt says. So you release those growth hormones, and then the growth hormones create more leaves and more evaporation drip on it. Well, that is, then you're working there, and then there's always this fear to cut something, but there's no tube, so that's great. Now here, this is the image of the bulldozer that was necessary. Well, that's overstatement. It was a choice. We did that there, and we got this flat area, and it's very hard clay. We just this line in particular is very interesting because I remember the night before. There was I was getting 13 people of the next day for the course, and the soil, I went there the night before to check everything, and the soil was like stone hard, like literally stone hard, bone dry in May. So it was a bit of a late course. Normally we do courses in the rainy season from October until April or something. And so now I realized this is going to be crazy. I had to I thought we're not going to plant anything if I don't have time to make the planting holes during the course. So in that evening, I was trying to do stuff. I wetted the soil a bit, but I just ran out of time. And the next day we decided just to put compost on top, and there was no tillage at all. It was just hard, stone. A little irrigation line on top, and the plants went in that compost. And for me, the results. This is literally on all that 2.5 years later. This is the area that was bulldozed in this image. Yeah, so we have apple tree on it already, and so you can imagine how overwhelmingly rewarding that is if you walk through the and I remember after all the work we've put it into it, it's just this is the same area in a earlier, let's say in another stage of the growing, and I remember just how nice it felt that we could start doing this, knowing that it was going to work, just because of our earlier experience. So it's very important for you to fail, very important to do it, get it down, see the feedback of the land, and don't give up, because all those mistakes are just completely your training. This is exactly what you need to feel, this moment of despair of oh, it's not going to work. And and at a certain point I had a few good trials, and I said, okay, I'm confident it's going to work, it's going to do it, and it worked. Now this is the dropper, the compost shredder. So besides the syntropic farming, we still do the market gardening in between. We like the system that Anne and Deacon talked about, where you intercrop all your lettuce and your broccoli and all the other crops. So it's very important to also, in a small system, you can do that. If it's bigger, it becomes maybe complex, because your crop plannings might run completely into, everything is possible actually, if you organize it well. Long rows in the middle. I don't normally use in the middle of my beds. I always use the leeks and long-term crops, so I can manage the shoulders of the bed with fast crops. So I can do several successions of fast crops on the shoulders of the bed. That's Tanía and me, and now she's here a little bit. She would say much more interesting things. Sorry. She knows a lot about the whole how this all gets. There's a lot to the back end also, because she does a lot of that too. And I'm all the time, wasting a lot of time in the beginning in developing stuff that don't work, and then I'm trying something else and it doesn't work, and then finally I come up with something that does work. And now, happily, thanks to her, in believing in me and continuously believing in me, we have the dropper, and this is our market garden tool now. That was the presentation of Lugar da Terra. Thank you.
Thanks, most of all, for coming, since I begged Tobias basically to invite you. I thought it was really surprising that you grow taro. I know that it's grown in Hawaii in these like water pond style, like rice, but you grow it directly in the soil. How does that
How is
work?
that possible? Yeah, exactly. That was my first thing as well. I worked in the supermarket, and I saw these little green bots on the taro, and I thought, okay, I bring it home and I just throw a few in the ground just for the fun, And it started growing, and I thought, first I remember I have to put it in water. I put it in boxes and in the tunnel, very warm, and make sort of Hawaiian climate, and that worked, But when I put it in the ground, they were even getting bigger because they had more soil. And I think maybe because I have clay soil, the moisture stays good in it as long as they're on there. So they're in a very, very nice spot. So they just grow. And they handle very cold weather as well, and wind. And
How cold does it get for you?
0, -1 Celsius.
Okay, but they would die in the frost, like here, probably.
I think they will. The leaves will yellow off, and I think they will. If you would go, the bulbs stay alive. It's like bananas; they stay alive. They come back.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's really worth to try, and especially because there doesn't seem to be anything wanting to eat them, except sometimes a few voles trying them. But it's not like, it's not as other crops that get eaten by voles.
Would you be so kind to, in a short form, explain what are your main players in the succession in your syntropic system? Like, what's your early succession, the middle, and the late succession, and what's your focus on there?
But the focus.
Yeah, the focus also in terms of cash crop, or what's your emphasis on in your syntropic system, because that's also very context-based, no?
Yeah. So again, I am coming from the place of less, let's say, more from into the doing aspect, not so much on the theory. That doesn't mean that I want to answer your question on the succession choices, but I really, because we have, let's say, a small area, I had the choice. It's not like I had to make a very important financial choice in the beginning by, let's say, I have a hectare and I have to plant all these trees now. So yeah, you're going to spend money, so you're going to think what you're going to do. So it was very small in the beginning, those lines. Let's say 3 lines of 10 meters or something. So I could risk, you know. So I put it oaks in, bolota, oak seed, brought from Holland even, some from Portugal. So get mixed diversity. So that was my climax, and I put it in. So apple, poplar as my emergence. Apple as a sort of a crop which starts cropping now. Some, and so if you buy a fruit tree, let's say a small fruit tree, in this case the species that I wanted to crop for, well, where we want to harvest from. So the poplar goes by cutting, and the fruit trees we bought. Mulberry went by cutting. So again, lots of things that I just could get my hands on, they went into the ground. And then we started the whole thing with lettuce and all the vegetables you can basically think of. Yeah, I'm getting now one thing that I wanted to say about that, but is this answering already a little bit the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Partly, but also like I'm trying to get a very clear image of also what your intention, like with everything, like for example, like the biomass, do you just lay it there, or do you have a chipper, or do you, I guess you just lay it there, no?
Yes, we don't have a chipper. I have not such a good experience with chippers. It's a lot of, I mean, chippering is heavy and noisy and a lot of maintenance on the blades, but it is, yeah, what I want to say, so there's this crazy amount of diversity, so everything grows at the same time. And in the beginning, so you can say I'm investing my money, even if you would blow it up into a bigger space, you can say I'm investing my money in let's say apples, yeah, in apple trees, but you space them out accordingly as a normal conventional farm would do that. But then all the in-between space gets filled in. So you could say I also want a climax species there of in this case we chose the oak, but you can have nut trees, you can have all kind of different things, and they will And the cool thing of that is you're planting that all, and while you're managing those first early succession harvests, those annuals, and then the berry bushes and all that in the beginning, then the fruit trees start coming, giving, and then it becomes very shady, yeah. And the cool thing is that you're just managing the climax forest in the meanwhile, you know. You hardly have to do anything. It's not like I'm going to plant an oak forest. Well, good luck, you know. Who's going to manage that? Why, you know? Now we can actually do it and earn money with it.
And sorry, one last question. The oak, why did you choose the oak?
Yeah, I kind of looked at what the native forest originally was there in the zone. I wanted to bring that a bit back. I felt like there's supposed to be much more oak trees in Portugal. When the brown bears also, where are they?
Thank you.
Yes, you mentioned the Schicken Tractor.
Yeah.
How is it integrated in the vegetables? Is it integrated or is it like a part farm?
Yes. We rotate with the electric net, but we have a sloped farm, so I have like 1, 2, 3 different areas, and it's very complex to bring from one place to the other, and it's almost not doable. But so that's why the Schicken Tractor is super light, and we can manage to move them between the crops. And yeah, between the tree lines, and sometimes it's actually very interesting to put them to incorporate a tree line with the electric fence. So what I notice a lot in maintenance of these syntropic tree lines is that if you don't stay on top of it, you get this pressure of, well, let's say normally grasses that really take over the middle. So then chickens can actually be really great in helping just clean it up for a bit.
Like 2 functions, they keep the grass down,
yeah,
and also they fertilize the ground.
There's a really cool example, Misty Creek Farm in New Zealand, they do that.